This is Michael Popak, Legal AF. In the aftermath of Donald Trump's 34-count felony conviction, we have him using, along with his proxies, false information, which is being used to attack Judge Merchan. And now there are increased violent threats against Judge Merchan as a result. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the 444 fraudulent theory that Donald Trump and his proxies, including those on Fox News, have used against Judge Merchan, who basically have claimed that Judge Merchan violated New York law in the way that he instructed the jury about how they should find unanimity about the criminal counts against Donald Trump, claiming falsely, wrongly, that the judge instructed the jury that they could convict Donald Trump of any crime they could think of, and that 4 of them could think of one crime, and 4 could think of another crime, and the third convict him of another crime, and that would be enough to convict him of a books and records fraud case. Wrong. And it would just be laughable that Donald Trump is using that just for the grift of raising fundraising dollars if it wasn't leading to the real world consequences of a state court judge being violently attacked, so much so that there's been an uptick in messaging, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of messages being sent through to Judge Merchan threatening harm to him and his family as a result of this. It's not a game. It is to the Trump side. It's not a game any longer. Now, as Donald Trump always knows, his rhetoric has consequences. Every judge that's ever dealt with him has told him that. The call and response between Donald Trump and his followers to do violence is strong. And when Donald Trump and his followers say and lie about the jury instructions in order to try to undermine the validity of the hard work of 12 Manhattanites who convicted Donald Trump, not just of one, but of all 34 counts against him for business record fraud in furtherance of a second crime, and they falsely declare to try to undermine the judge that he wrongly and improperly and illegally instructed the jury, what did they think was going to happen? Exactly what's happening. Death threats to Judge Merchan. Let me explain how this works. And we've done it on Legal AF, but I want to do it right here on this hot take because I want to explain it so you have it as a sort of a palm card when you're talking to people in the street about this particular issue. The instruction that was given by Judge Merchan was appropriate. What it says is that the jury had to reach unanimity about whether there was a business record fraud case here, that Donald Trump caused the business records of the Trump organization to contain fraudulent information in furtherance of a second crime, what we call a predicate crime. What the judge said is you must reach unanimity, 12-0, on the violation of the 175.10 of the Penal Law of New York, which is the fraudulent business record statute, which is normally a misdemeanor unless that false series of entries. We had at least 12 of them on the books and records. That's 12 of the 34 counts is in furtherance of a second crime, a cover-up of a second crime, if you will. And there the judge said, you just have to find if there was an intent to commit a second crime, but you don't have to reach agreement on what that second crime is. Why? Because New York law does not require that the second crime or the predicate crime that the original crime is in furtherance of be charged. It's not an it's an uncharged crime. So it didn't have to be proven at trial. That wasn't a burden of the prosecution beyond the reasonable doubt to prove 2 crimes. Only one. The second crime, under long-standing New York law, all the way up to its Court of Appeals, is that then, after the jury makes that initial determination unanimously as to whether there is a cover-up of a second crime, they don't have to have unanimity about what the second crime is, just that there was an attempt to commit a second crime. And the jury was given 3 options for the second crime, right? 1, federal election law violation. That would be that Donald Trump's company indirectly through Michael Cohen making a $134,000 payment to Stormy Daniels was really a contribution in favor of the campaign, which is an in-kind or a contribution, straw man contribution to the campaign, which is illegal. That's part of what Michael Cohen went to jail for on the federal side. 2, a New York State analog to that, a New York State election law violation, crime. And 3, a tax fraud crime. because by listing it as a legal expense, remember Donald Trump kept telling people, it was a legal expense. We listed it as a legal expense. Why is that a crime? Because it's a crime when it's not a legal expense. And when you take the deductions related to it, and on your records, you show loss against income, right? On your income statement for the company, you're now listing it as an expense to lower your income, to pay less taxes, et cetera, for something that should have just been a payment that's not deductible and not listed as a legal expense, because that showed up on the ledger as a legal expense. Payment to Michael Cohen for legal services, $440,000. The jury was allowed to find and not have to reach agreement and waste their time finding consensus to say, I think it was this crime, but I think it was this crime, but I think it was that crime, because these are all unindicted charges. It just has to be a general intent to commit a crime. And they gave them a choice of one of the three crimes. And I don't know which juror went with which of the three, but they all went with there was a second crime that was committed. Donald Trump interpreted that intentionally, fraudulently, and gave it off to Fox News and others as 444. And that led to an uproar and his followers picking up pitchforks, promoted and fanned by the fuel of Fox News. You would think they would have learned better after the Smartmatic and Dominion voting systems about lying and defaming people. And now you have a judge who's under attack. I do laundry a lot, but I wasn't a big fan of my old laundry detergent and how it makes my clothes feel and smell. This podcast is sponsored by Laundry Sauce. Laundry Sauce created the world's best-smelling laundry detergent in simple-to-use, high-performance pods. Laundry Sauce has transformed the mundane task of doing laundry into a luxurious and exciting experience, so you don't have to dread laundry day anymore. Earlier this week, I just used the Australian sandalwood pods, and my clothes smell amazing. My wife thought I changed my cologne. So what's the secret sauce behind Laundry Sauce? They partnered with one of the top fragrance houses in the world, the same team behind many of your favorite designer scents. From Australian sandalwood to Egyptian rose to cyber pine with Laundry Sauce, laundry day will never smell the same again. Plus, they stripped away all the unnecessary ingredients and artificial dyes and maximize the hard-working, science-backed stain fighters and enzymes to ensure your favorite clothes come out looking brand new. Check out the reviews on their site. They are some of the funniest, most authentic reviews you'll ever read. Laundry Sauce was started back in 2021 by a team who were bored by the mundane scents in the detergent aisle, so they decided to make a product that was conscious, relevant, and innovative. And it's not just pods. Laundry Sauce makes scent boosters, dryer sheets, dryer balls, fabric softeners, and even candles too. Plus, if you aren't happy, send back Laundry Sauce for a full refund. No questions asked. Elevate your laundry with Laundry Sauce. Now is the time to experience Laundry Sauce. Head to laundrysauce.com/legalaf and use promo code LegalAF at checkout for 15% off. That's the best offer you'll find, but you must use my code LegalAF for 15% off your order. One last time, that's laundrysauce.com/legalaf, promo code LegalAF for 15% off. He gave, I'm going to say this straight, and you can say it to your followers and listeners as well, and people that you talk to. Judge Merchan's jury instructions were correct. They are not going to be a proper subject of an appeal. There was no reversible error in the jury instructions. I've looked at the jury instructions. I've written jury instructions in New York. I've given jury instructions in New York. They were airtight, waterproof. Okay? Every one of them, including his charge, which is partially from the model instructions in New York, and others were crafted together from prevailing case law, was appropriate. Donald Trump is going to claim at his appeal that there was a jury instruction problem. There was not. This is how criminal law is charged in New York and how you take a misdemeanor which is the 175.10 penal law violation of books and records, and how you ratchet it up to an E-class felony, lowest level felony in New York, but a felony nonetheless. And that issue of the second crime, the predicate crime, as we call it in New York, that the jury does not have to reach unanimity on, just that there was some second crime among the three choices. That's different than 444. So when you hear 444, now understand that that's being used to bash Judge Merchan, which goes beyond social media and into threats against him, violent threats against him that have to be resolved by the Department of Court Security, right? That department now of public safety has to now put guards around Merchan and his family because of this attack that is inappropriate and wrong under New York law. Now, look, Donald Trump's lead lawyers are not New York lawyers. Todd Blanche, God love him, was a federal lawyer, a federal prosecutor for most of his career. He never practiced in the New York State court system. I don't think he tried a case in New York, not at the trial level. And it showed, by the way. Susan Necklace, his other lawyer, was a New York lawyer, does know her way around the New York courthouse, but she was sidelined early on, either by her own choice or by Donald Trump, and was no longer really the co-lead first chair. When you think back on the trial, it was Todd Blanche and Emile Beauvais, his associate. But they're not adept at New York state practice or New York state law. And that's what we're watching there. And I wanted to bring it to your attention because the very people who selflessly and thanklessly commit themselves to our criminal justice system and civic service and civic duty, like the jury, the 12 jurors. You think they all wanted to be there? They were all strangers. They didn't want to, they got a summons to appear for jury duty. You think they wanted to be lashed together and be the jury to convict the first ex-president in U.S. history? No, I assure you. And they were made anonymous for a reason, for their own protection. Judge Merchan can't be anonymous. You know, we don't do star chambers in this country. And he's just doing his duty. He was a little known, zero known trial judge in New York, unless you practiced in New York like I do, forever, with an impeccable record, with an unassailable record of just the kind of judge you'd want to be before if something like this happened to you, or you were the victim of a crime. Sober, even-handed, well-tempered, professional, ethical. That's what you want. And that's what you have in Judge Merchan, with a track record of working first as a prosecutor and then ending up as a New York State Supreme Court justice, which is a trial level court in New York. Until, of course, Donald Trump showed up. So you got the prosecutors just doing their job. Alvin Bragg didn't run on a campaign as a prosecutor that he's going to put Donald Trump away. Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, it's a different story. But Alvin Bragg, and I followed that race closely, and I supported somebody that ran against Alvin Bragg, who's now the Inspector General of the state of New York. So I followed that race very closely, and that's not what Alvin Bragg did. And he's been on the MeidasTouch network, and he never campaigned on, I'm going to get Donald Trump. He's just doing his civic duty as the Manhattan DA, law and order, and the investigators, and the prosecutor's office, and the people in the prosecutor's office. And they have a right to do their job without being violently attacked with vitriol and rhetoric by Donald Trump, and then sicked on them, his followers, and Judge Merchan too. We're going to bring it to you right here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF. We do our show on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Podcast, YouTube, you can watch it right here. Free subscribe, get the 3 million for MeidasTouch, and then on audio podcast platforms of your choice. Show's called Legal AF for a reason. You probably figured it out by now. We curate the top 4 or 5 stories at the intersection of law and politics. We bring it to you right here on this network. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popak reporting. Heary, heary, Legal AF Law Breakdown is now in session. Go beyond the headlines and get a deep dive into the important legal concepts you need to know, and we discuss every day on Legal AF. Exclusive content you won't find anywhere else, all for the price of a couple of cups of coffee. Join us at patreon.com/legalaf. That's patreon.com/legalaf.